more like Daredevil bored again. All right, so this is going to be a bit of a spoiler-y discussion. I'm just going to kind of openly talk about it. I'm not going to do a whole like breakdown of the entire season because ain't nobody got time for that. But if you want a quick spoiler-free thoughts section, it's better than season 1, nowhere near as bad, but still nowhere near as good as the Netflix show, and I am a little underwhelmed at the end of the day. So let me get into why. I would say that my first main argument here is just that the premise of the season is Mayor Fisk, right? He's sitting there, he's sitting in his little chair at his little desk. He's the mayor of New York City, and he is waging war against not Daredevil, mind you. He is waging war against all of the vigilantes of New York City. I would argue that that's kind of a big deal. That is maybe not an Avengers level threat, but it's a Defenders level threat, if that makes any sense. There are barely any vigilantes in the show, right? Like, if we just go through them, Jessica Jones was heavily marketed as being a major part of this season. Maybe they didn't say that explicitly, but if you watch the trailers, you would come away thinking like, oh shoot, Jessica Jones is in this season. She's barely in it. And even the little that she's in it, they like introduce a bunch of elements to her character and barely explain it. Like, she has a daughter. Okay, that's cool. That's a new interesting aspect of her character. But if you're going to do off-screen character development that you can't even watch the Netflix shows in order to catch up with, you kind of have to do a little more than just having her daughter appear there. They did barely anything to make you care about her relationship with her daughter. Luke Cage, he literally shows up for 5 seconds at the end. He didn't help with anything in the season. They basically made him an absentee father. Is that a crazy thing to say? I'm expected to believe that Luke Cage has a daughter and he's not trying to be like a super active presence in her life. Like, he's willing to go on these missions with shady government agents like Mr. Charles. It just doesn't really connect with me. And even if he is going on missions for the government, because maybe that's how he wants to make his money, to be fair, I kind of remember at the end of Luke Cage season 2 that he was kind of going down a dark road. Okay, maybe. He would definitely have like a way to communicate with Jessica to where Jessica could be like, hey man, the people that you're working with is putting our daughter in danger. You need to come down and help us. Like, and you would assume that he would immediately go back to New York to help with the situation. Like, very bizarre how they handled Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. We get the swordsman this season. That's cool. You know, we actually get to see him fight. He's pretty badass. I really like the actor that they have playing him. He leaves after they break him out of prison, right? Like, this guy's supposed to be a superhero. He's supposed to be a vigilante, and he just ditches them. And it's not even portrayed as like a dick thing that he's doing. He just like leaves. And he's like, you're a symbol of hope, Daredevil. You should be sticking around. We should be building up a team to go after Fisk, who's waging a war against vigilantes. Frankly, I don't even think that baby white tiger counts. If we get some scenes of her being a little kitty cat, she's scurrying around, slashing tires. We get a little bit in the finale where she's like, rah! Like she's jumping around. She doesn't count. She's not even a superhero yet. But frankly, it's kind of wild that Luke Cage, absentee father, swordsman, coward, just leaves. But little baby white tiger remains for the entirety of the season. But yeah, Iron Fist, we have no idea where he's at. Colleen Wing, we have no idea where she's at. Didn't season 2 of Iron Fist end with Colleen Wing taking up the mantle of Iron Fist? I don't remember. Who cares? Spider-Man, I assume he's just scratching his ass somewhere. And don't get me wrong. Obviously, they're not going to get Tom Holland to be in the show. It's probably way too expensive. It would probably be a nightmare trying to write up the contracts of how exactly that would work. Because like TV rights and movie rights are different. And would Marvel really go through the effort to have Spider-Man show up in a TV show? I totally understand that Spider-Man's not in it. But even still, logically, Wilson Fisk is going to war with the vigilantes of New York. Spider-Man nowhere to be seen. That's weird. That is just freaking weird. Frankly, I would have been perfectly fine with them introducing a bunch of glup shitto superheroes like the Swordsman that are like, I mean, not original, right? They should probably still come from Marvel Comics, but I'm sure there are a bunch of random vigilantes in Marvel Comics that operate in New York that they could have introduced in this season. But they don't, and it's weird, and it makes the overarching threat, it makes the overarching presence of this of Fisk in this season weird, and it feels off, and it disconnects me from being able to like truly take in what this season is trying to do. Honestly, and the people that really like this show and this season are going to get mad at me for making this comparison. It gave me Secret Invasion vibes. One of the main issues, besides Secret Invasion just not being a very good show, is that if you are going to tell a story where the Skrulls have been on Earth since the 90s, and, you know, they've been, like, taking over the identities of people, that should be a movie. That should be a story told in a movie where you are able to cast whoever you want, get whatever character you need. It should be a Captain America Civil War style movie. The story of Wilson Fisk going to war with the vigilantes of New York City should have been saved for a Spider-Man movie. A Spider-Man movie where they would have no problem, right, getting Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher, all the vigilantes that are in New York. You could have even had, again, it's very similar to Civil War. You could have had Fisk going, oh shoot, all of these superheroes are teaming up to fight me. Well, you know what I can do? I can call up Mr. Charles, my companion, and have him send in the new Avengers to fight the vigilantes. And you could have done like a big event movie where you can properly tell this story with the weight and the gravity that it necessitates. But no, it's just a weird, flimsy Disney Plus series that is trying to be grand and epic in scope, but unwilling or unable to actually do it. But again, I want to be crystal clear. I would have also accepted a bunch of glup shitto vigilantes, but they couldn't even do that. But even meeting the show where it's at, I feel like there are a bunch of glaring issues. One of the biggest issues with the first season was that, whoo boy, did the side characters suck. And they do try to improve upon that here in season 2, but at the end of the day, they just don't work for me. Now, Daniel and Buck are definitely two of the best characters, and individually and even when they're together, their dynamic does work, and their relationship I do think is actually properly developed, and I did begin to care about, the relationship that they had together. But unfortunately, they're both paired with love interests that are not as good. BB Urich does one thing this season. It's make her dumb videos that are honestly kind of cringy. I feel like they're trying to be intimidating, but it doesn't really work for me. Or maybe not intimidating, but it's supposed to be like cool and badass that she's hitting back at Fisk. But I don't know. It was just cringe to me. And for like the entire season up until, they finally have their conflict, her relationship with Daniel is just her playing dumb about that she's the one making the videos and Daniel not acting on the fact that it's her. And it's just like that storyline should be like a really tense game of cat and mouse where Daniel's not sure if it's BB or not. And he's investigating and they're both intelligently playing their cards and they're both intelligently maneuvering the situation. But the way that BB goes about it feels very sloppy and it feels really dumb that Daniel doesn't butt in and interject earlier than he does. And it was just annoying anytime it cut to BB and Daniel. And so when it gets to the scene where Daniel sacrifices himself, the wind is cut out from the sails of what should be a very dramatic and tragic death. I was just like, I mean, I guess I'm sad that Buck and Daniel's relationship is ending, but it doesn't feel as heroic as it should because I was just annoyed by your relationship with BB throughout the entire season. Same goes for Buck and Heather. They try to do this weird relationship where Heather's obviously schizo and going off of her rockers. And it's like, this is a weird, almost like Joker and Harley Quinn-esque relationship because Buck understands where she's coming from, and he's actually cool with her giving her having control and choking him out. And it's just like, I guess the biggest problem with it is that they introduce this relationship at the beginning of the season, then they do nothing with it throughout the end of the season. So by the time it gets to like the end of the season and Heather is like choking Buck, like the development just wasn't there. The idea that she's going to become Muse next season is honestly so beyond stupid. We'll see how they handle it, but that feels like it's going to be a disaster. Like, again, these side characters are just not it. And then you have characters like Kirsten, and, I would also throw Cherry in there. I feel like there's so much potential for those characters, and they just don't do anything with them. And I'm just like, why are you focusing so much on Heather? You could have abandoned Heather after the last season. You could have and you should have. I feel like there's so much potential for Kirsten to be Matt's new lawyer friend that he confides in, since Foggy's not around. And you could build like a new unique relationship with her. And she's just barely in the season, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Same goes for Cherry. Like, whenever Cherry's on screen, that actor that plays him is really good. I like him. Barely in the season. Honestly, Karen is probably the biggest disappointment of all. She's obviously such a beloved character. People were begging for her to come back for the first season. She was barely in the first season. And in the second season, she's kind of just hiding out in their secret lair for most of the season. They try to give her and Matt's relationship depth for like 5 seconds when, they have like their ideological differences and whether or not they should kill Bullseye. But it's that ideological differences in their relationship isn't explored in any meaningful way. And so, yeah, definitely Karen, big bummer that she's just kind of standing around for most of the season. It's just like trying to compare these guys to the side characters from, the Netflix shows like Foggy, Ben Urich, Agent Nadeem, hell, Punisher when he was a side character in season 2. Like, trying to compare any of these guys that I've mentioned with those characters where, man, whenever we cut to Ben Urich in season 1 of Daredevil, I was just as locked into him and Karen doing their journalism stuff as I was with like the main plot, because the writing was that good. And I feel like there was potential for that to be the case, with Kirsten, for example. That is such a disappointing aspect of this season that they really need to fix with the third one. All of the negative aspects of the show that I've mentioned ultimately weigh down the good aspects of the show and make them not hit as hard. Charlie and Vincent are as good in these roles as they've ever been. And by the way, Jesus, Charlie, you did Chris Hemsworth give you some of his horse steroids? Because, my lord. Wilson Bethel as Bullseye is genuinely phenomenal. And in theory, I really like the themes that are being explored in this season, Daredevil having to pay for his sins or whatever, and needing to reflect on his values, and ultimately saving Bullseye even though he killed Foggy. In a way, him sitting in prison and that being the way that he has to save the city is all a part of that. And I think that really exploring the religiosity of Matt in this season, I think, is really cool. Fisk, in a lot of ways, is in the end game, right? He's like kind of gained everything that he's been wanting throughout this entire season. He's gained control of New York. He's enacted what he genuinely believes are good things for the city. But in that process, he's lost everything. The person and thing that he cherishes most in this world is gone. Matt winning but being in a jail cell, and Fisk losing but being free on a random beach somewhere. Well, the logic of him not being prosecuted after everything he does this season, absolute nonsense, but we won't even get into that. But the irony of that should be good. But it gets back to everything else in that I've been talking about. individual scenes and individual moments can be really good in this show. Beautifully acted by these wonderful actors that are genuinely giving it their all. But the show around those moments being so mediocre doesn't properly build up to those moments. And I guess it does make me a little sad in a sense because it feels like such a missed opportunity. You know, Charlie Cox Daredevil is like pizza to me. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was dreading watching, every episode this season. In fact, I was actually, if you watch my episodic reviews where I would review each, I think I got to like episode 5 or something, and I ended up needing to stop. I was very much enjoying the show, and I was like hoping that all of this was going to build up properly, and then in the latter half of the season, I feel like it really fell off in quality. But yeah, like I was still enjoying it week to week. The Netflix series is, I would say, a really good New York slice. And Daredevil Born Again is Dominoes. I still enjoy Dominoes. Charlie Cox's Daredevil is like one of my favorite things, period. So I still enjoy the show, but it could and should be better. I feel like Daredevil should be Marvel's response to Andor, their response to the Penguin. It should be a show that is just a fantastic Emmy Award worthy series first, and then us liking it as a comic book show second. And unfortunately, that's really what the show is. It is a show that I think a lot of us watch and, to a certain degree, enjoy because of the cool comic book hype moments, because there are admittedly really cool action scenes that I think are genuinely really cool. I will say this as well. I do genuinely think that the suit this season is one of the best comic book movie, or well, I guess it's a TV show, comic book media suits of all time. Like the way that the black was slowly fading off over the course of the season, absolute cinema or whatever. It even looks good in daylight. Like when he's talking to Jessica Jones on the rooftop, I was constantly going like, damn, that's sexy. So from like, a comic book movie or a comic book TV show, point at the screen and clap like a seal perspective, I enjoyed this season. I just feel like Daredevil could and should be better. And so that is unfortunately why I am focusing more on the negatives, because I would like to hold the show to a higher standard, but I still overall enjoyed it, and I can't really deny that. So there it is. Those are my overarching thoughts on season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, like the video, hype the video, whatever that means. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.